Alright, I'm a COD expert. And since I'm still kind of sick right now, even though we're getting pretty close to being over with, being honest, I decided that I should rank every COD game. And considering it's 5:30 right now, I gotta make sure this is at least 8 minutes. So let me start with Advanced Warfare. Advanced Warfare is a COD game, of course. It's a very controversial one. However, it is one that I've played a little bit. I think it has some qualities. I think the gunplay can be fine. The movement is a little rough though, especially on your sticks. If you ever heard someone playing that game, you know. And it also did start the whole pay-to-win like versions of guns with like loot boxes, which people really hate on BO3 for, but I think BO3 did a better job than Advanced Warfare did with that. So I'm gonna put it in meh. I also don't think it really has great zombies, and I didn't touch campaign. I'm gonna be honest. So Black Ops 1. This is a masterpiece of a game. I don't even have to really even say much without going into it. It basically kickstarted the zombies genre. World at War did technically. I think. Well, I think it was World at War. I don't remember the exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's COD World at War that started the zombies. But Black Ops expanded on it. Now, of course, it's not the most polished out of all of them. It was a fantastic start, and then couple that with an amazing campaign and a pretty damn good multiplayer, game's going into great. To be fair, I didn't really experience this too much in its heyday, so I don't really have too much nostalgia for this, but I have gone back and played the zombies. I have gone back and played multiplayer in current day, and I've heard about the campaign. I've never been a campaign guy. So let's talk about BO2. BO2 is probably the best COD game. I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna explain. This is probably isn't too controversial. However, Black Ops 2 had arguably one of the best campaigns, arguably one of the best multiplayers of all time, and arguably some of the best zombies of all time. That wasn't proper grammar there, but the zombies is more debatable than the other two because of the bad maps. Now, BO2 is notorious for having the best maps and some of the worst when it comes to zombies. I mean, think of like the Insane Asylum one that I literally can't remember the name of right now. Think of Origins that started on BO2. Then think about Die Rise. Think about Transit. However, I think it still deserves God status because I do think it is the best feeling zombies out of any of them. I actually like how it plays over 3. And it has some of the greatest maps. I like the crew. Yes, they're not as memorable. However, Misty and Rustman. And I got Stillinger. And I'm totally not forgetting one. Totally not forgetting this really annoying guy that comes back in a later game. And yes, BO2 is actually one of the very few campaigns I've played a little bit from until I was really scared as a child. There's this one section where you have a machete and your screen's really red and there's flashing stuff. I got terrified by that. However, I did get to experience BO2 a bit into its prime. It was actually before BO3 was out, so I did get to play it while it was still relevant. It was amazing. And it's still a game you can go back to now using other places to play the game without mods. There are places I'm not going to exactly say anything or link anything because I think I can get in trouble for that. But you can play this game how it used to be played without mods with a better anti-cheat system. So mods just don't really work. It's one of the best COD games, if not the best COD game in all the series. Now, before we go further, I have not played these old COD games. Most of these were PC exclusives. I just got a laptop. I have not played World War. So yeah, I've touched the rest of these though. Let's get into BO3 next. BO3 is a controversial game, especially for me. The campaign is horrible. I think the only campaign I've fully ever beaten. It is horrible. I've beaten it twice with friends each time. It was fun to play it with friends, but it was not a good campaign. However, the multiplayer is very hit or miss, and for me, it's a hit. I like it. I like futuristic shooting. And this game, I really like that multiplayer. However, I, unlike most people, do not think the Zombies is the best one in this series. I don't even think it's the second best. It's better than BO4, but I've had a way better time playing BO4 zombies, Black Ops zombies, and Black Ops 2 zombies than I ever have 3. And maybe it's because I play on console. Maybe because I can't experience those mods, and there's a lot of problems, especially on the console versions, with like hitboxes, and you can't, really properly use movement. And it's just like maybe if I was on PC, my opinions of the zombies would change. But honestly, it's not. It's my least favorite zombies. With that being said, I get why it's so good. There are amazing maps, amazing stories in those maps, really good Easter eggs. I will just because I don't like them doesn't mean I can't see why they're good. I just don't like them. Well, for that reason, I'm going to put in great. I don't think it's God. I think for it to be God, it would have to have a good campaign. Like, yeah, most people don't care about campaigns, but when I look at a game, I kind of try to look at all aspects. And I don't think it's a perfect game. I don't like God tier is like a 9 out of 10. This is probably this is like 9 through 10, basically high 9s. This I would put as like low 9s to like 8, and then the rest that's like 7, 6. This is like 5, 4, and this is 3 through 1. I think Black Ops 3 is a low 9. I do not think it's a high 9, or I'd put it in God tier. I know it's good. The BO4. Now, I hold BO4 in a different light. BO4 was the game that, when I got my Xbox, was my COD. Like, yes, BO3 was out. I played a lot of BO3 on my dad's Xbox. However, it wasn't my COD. My COD was BO4 on my Xbox. Because, yes, I did play Modern Warfare back on PlayStation 3. But, yes, when I got my Xbox, which is the console I would say changed my life. I'd say it's my most played console. And I'd say it's done the most for me as a gamer. And that's when I started to get good at games. And BO4 was my COD. So I do hold it in a higher light than most do. But I will say this. I can get why some people don't like it. Some people don't like specialists. That's fine. People don't like the zombies. I don't truly get why people don't like the zombies. But whatever. Personally, like, using biased, it'd be in God tier. However, I'm not going to put it there. I'll put it in alright. And I will say this. Multiplayer feels fine. I do not get what people say it feels bad. There are some weird balancing issues later in the life, and now at its current state, when they stopped up in the game, it ended on kind of a weird note. Where, yes, there's a lot of unbalance in the guns. However, you can grind to get every loot box gun. At the end of its life cycle, it really did improve. And that was the end of its life cycle now. Which was really dumb. They said this was going to be a multi-year game. They stopped even before the next game was out, before Modern Warfare was out. It was a game they ruined while still making it good at the end. However, I actually like the multiplayer. I don't see why people don't like it. Maybe because they were expecting it to be more traditional COD, and then they didn't get hit with a traditional COD, and they were upset about that. I thought the multiplayer was fine. Some of the guns did feel boring. Like a good chunk of guns felt boring. I will say that. However, for majority of the game, it was balanced decent enough. Like, even when Titan meta was still going on, still had no problems running around with a lot of ARs and SMGs and still doing good. I don't think there was really a lot of shit weapons. I do think there was better weapons. Every game has that. And yeah, I actually thought the zombies were pretty decent. I didn't see the whole hate behind them. I mean, maybe it was the whole choosing your perks. No, like, I get people don't like that. I say it makes for more fun experiences. And yes, there are some bad maps. We'll not deny that. Basically, anything that isn't like the premise crew has a 50-50 chance of being good. Dead of Night's a bad map. Voyage of Despair is a dead map. However, Blood isn't the greatest map. It's not terrible. It's just not as good as Mob, which is the same on map. I remember that now. I don't really care for Nuketown. However, 9 is one of my, if not my favorite zombies map of all time. And also, the Greek one is pretty damn good. I cannot remember I have not played it much, so I cannot remember my name. I do not get the huge BO4 hate. However, what I do get the hate for is Cold War. Really bad game. I do not care that it's in the Modern Warfare engine, which is a good engine. It is a bad game. You have the really bad thing that Modern Warfare does with paid variants. balance, which, yes, it doesn't really have to, most of the time, give a gun too much advantage. However, it's a huge incentive for you to spend money, and I hate that. I'd rather there be loot boxes, rather than like, oh, here's a skin, pay $10 for that. Not only that, it had really bad balancing. It keeps the bad system Modern Warfare has of guns being seasonal and battle passes. And then you have to go out of your way to get those guns later, and they're not an easy grind. So if you don't grind each season, which a COD game should not be about grinding, it never should be about grinding. If you have to grind those seasons to get those guns, like yes, grinding skins is a different story, but grinding for guns should not be. Once you're past the level that gets you all the guns, it should be as simple as that. You should not have to grind for guns in a battle pass that makes you play hundreds and hundreds of hours, especially since Cold War is a bad game. I don't think the zombies are good. I really don't. There are 2 maps. The mechanics are not the greatest. I don't like crafting. I don't like rarities in the zombies. I do not like really any of it. I have not found it fun. There are some guns you just can't use. You have to kind of use good guns. It's like BO2 with its gun balancing, but I would say arguably worse. Because at least once you pack a punch guns, for the most part on BO2 they'd be useful. But this game has triple pack, and it's not very cheap. It's not really controller friendly for the zombies is. And yeah, the content drips so slow into zombies. But you had one map, which I think it's an alright map. I don't think the layout is anything crazy. And then they dropped another okay map. The maps are okay, but I think the zombie stuff is not fun. It's only challenging when you can't use anything you want. It's easy when you have to because you have to use good guns or you cannot play it. It's a super hard micromanage your things, especially on the first map. You literally to play the game right, you don't leave spawn for a while. There's just so much wrong with the zombies, and I think people really just hated BO4 so much for some reason that they saw Cold War zombies and like this is better. When not, and honestly, it isn't. Yeah, I could rant about how bad Cold War is. None of its original maps are good. People only play it for the remake maps. Gunplay isn't that fun. Then the balancing is pretty bad. It's worse than BO4 balancing. It is probably in the last 10 years, or I'd say 7, probably the worst COD game. I think, honestly, in my opinion, it's the worst COD game. Not counting like the original ones. I think Infinite Warfare is better. I think Advanced Warfare is better. I mean, it's right there on the tier list. I think Cold War is genuinely a pretty shit game. And there's also skill-based matchmaking. I didn't even mention that. I didn't even need to mention that. The game's just so bad. I really cannot play it and try to find too many positives. Not enough to where I can put in meh. I think it's just genuinely a trash game. Now that I'm done saying about that, let's talk about Ghost. Ghost was one of the only CODs I ever had on my PlayStation 3. Let me put this back down. Let me put that back down. It's one of the only COD games I had on PlayStation 3. I had Modern Warfare, and then Ghost later. Around when Ghost came out. And I didn't have internet connection, so I never got to experience Ghost multiplayer. But I did kind of like the zombies, even though it wasn't. They're technically aliens. But the zombies wasn't something you can play too much. You kind of had to do everything a certain way each time, and it felt more like Left 4 Dead than it did COD Zombies. But it also did have that COD Zombies feel. It was kind of like a baby of each that no one wanted and no one cared about. Now, the multiplayer isn't the greatest. It's kind of mixed match for a lot of people. Cod Ghost is the most, depends the person game there is. It's not something that you're going to see heavy on one side or the other. I think it's a game people kind of just sweep underneath the rug, and I don't really get why, because I actually think it's pretty decent. However, I think it's better than Advanced Warfare. I don't know. I did like the campaign when I played this, though. But the multiplayer is just weird, and I did not play enough to really know. Because I'm also younger. It's not a game I've ever retouched that or even really thought about, because it's a game no one thinks about. However, let's get into Infinite Warfare. Now, this is a game people really shit on. Really shit on. And I don't really see it. For one, in my opinion, the coolest zombies. Out of any of the zombies, Venture Spaceland, is cooler than any other zombie maps. And there's DLC for this game that focus on like horror movies back in the day. I think it's super cool the zombies are. However, the multiplayer, it's not COD. It wasn't done the way like BO3, where it still felt like COD. It just didn't. It felt more like any other flying shooter. None are really coming to mind. I'd say like Destiny multiplayer maybe, or Titanfall. Nah, not even really Titanfall. I don't know. I can't really describe it besides it just not feel like a COD game. However, I think it's better than Advanced Warfare. Just for the zombies alone. The zombies alone makes me want to put an alright, but I'm not going to. People would be offended by that, even though this is my tier list. It's how I feel objectively. I actually think it's pretty good. I think it's alright. It does get a little overhated. I'd put it over Ghost, even though these aren't exactly layered. I mean, now they are. Okay, now they're in order, I guess. Now let's talk about this behemoth of the game right here. Now, a lot of people hate on this game. They don't call it bad, but they say that this is better, and this is way better. I think I don't remember which one's regarded more, 2 or 3. However, I don't ever hear anybody talk about this one. I think the original Modern Warfare has the best COD campaign of all time. Simple as that. And it was the foundation for the rest of the Modern Warfare franchise because they didn't stray off. Like, Black Ops 1 was the foundation for Black Ops 2. Simple as that. However, 3 and 4 are so different from it, they don't feel like the same franchise. They feel like off categories. But Modern Warfare just feels like Modern Warfare. And I've always loved this campaign. Like I said, I really think it's the best COD campaign of all time. The multiplayer, I played the remastered, so I do have a gauge for how the multiplayer feels. It feels good. It definitely feels better in later versions like 2 and 3. But 1 still feels good. And there's no zombies in these games. That's within the grandma. I think it's a great game. I really do. Now let's talk about Modern Warfare 2. I don't remember much about this game. I didn't play the campaign. I only briefly played this game with bots for like less than like 2 weeks because I hadn't known this game. My friend like let me borrow it. I do think I can't really properly give a score to this game. Even though I have played it, I'm gonna put never played. I truly cannot put too much into this game because it's not a game that's really talked about too much. Like multiplayer is, people love multiplayer. The multiplayer is good. However, I just didn't play it enough. And here, Modern Warfare 3. People regard this as the best one in the franchise. And yes, you can play this online as well without mods. Not telling you where you can find that though, because I think I can get in trouble for that. I'm not even sure if I can. But it is a really good game. Campaign is really good. I don't think it's as good as 1. However, I do think multiplayer blitzes it. Multiplayer for this game is fantastic. And in my opinion, honestly, it goes into God tier. It's not like it's not Black Ops 2. It doesn't beat Black Ops 2. However, I do think it's very good. I really do. And out here, we go into Modern Warfare. Now, Modern Warfare is not my most played COD. It's not even in my top 5. But I did play enough to warrant a feel for the game. I didn't touch campaign, but I hear it's pretty alright. Oh, I didn't talk about Cold War's campaign. It was actually from what I played, it was actually pretty decent. But whatever, the rest of the game sucks. Modern Warfare is a game I didn't really play too much. However, anytime there was an open beta, I did play it, and I played it a lot. During the first open beta, I got max level. During a lot of the random betas I popped for a weekend, I think overall I got pretty close to level 50. I did find this fun. It has a really good feeling engine, which makes me want to kind of get Vanguard when it comes out, but I don't want another Cod World War II game, and we'll talk about Cod World War II when we get there. I really think this is a good COD. It introduced some things I did not like. Variants. And some of the gun variants at the end were actually pretty bad, and no one ever talks about them. Some of them were game-changing. They introduced a gun that could wallbang and ping people through like 3 to 4 different layers of walls. So it had a lot of imbalance, like Advanced Warfare did later in life, and like that stuff you just could not get without the variants. Thankfully, Cold War doesn't really do that. Like the variants don't really matter in Cold War. Also, the sun is really in my eyes. I need to lean back. But yeah, it has a good feeling multiplayer. It was better than Cold Wars. It was better than some of the other ones. However, I am gonna just put an all right because yeah, Spec Ops just isn't crazy. It really is not worth like it feels like a Modern Warfare with 2 game modes. And so here we go to probably my second most played COD game of all time, COD World War II. Let me break this down. Campaign, standard World War II, generic, kind of boring campaign. I got soft locked at one point. Never got past that. However, multiplayer feels amazing. One of my favorite playing multiplayer games of all time. Like if I had my disc still and didn't let my friend borrow it and have not asked for it back because I forgot he borrowed it, I would say this is a phenomenal. I would probably still be playing it, and I don't plan to take it back from him. I'm being honest. However, I do not like zombies in this game. I do not. If if it wasn't for the multiplayer, this game would be down here. It'd be probably down like in between Cold War and that. If it had a worse feeling multiplayer. However, the multiplayer is so good that I'm just gonna put it all right. I think it's better than Modern Warfare. I'm gonna be honest. Like with Modern Warfare's monetization system, like World War II's crates did not matter. They were just skins. They were how games should do loot crates, and it's just cosmetics. Now some skins, yes, had a camouflage thing, but that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But yeah, this is my list. I do truly think that BO2 is the peak COD. I think Modern Warfare 3 is a super good COD. And yeah, I stand by my list. I do. But yeah, this is my list. That's about it. I think that's everything I have to say.